Welcome to Primetime Picks on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. Sitting alongside me is Corey Sparks, the fantasy expert in the office. I'm Charlie Dern. This week we've got our highs and lows, our lessons learned. We've even got some NBA action for everybody, some win totals, some awards. Even though the season started, you can still get some totals and awards out there. And, of course, our picks for NFL Week 8. Corey, I quoted Rocky last week. After I went 0-5-1 to start our picks out, it was about getting up, not about how you stay down, but how you get up after getting hit. And I finally had a great week, so I'm feeling good. I went 2-0 against the spread, and I got my touchdown score right. You went 1-1, and you hit your touchdown score, so it was a good week all around. We still have some work to do, though. We haven't hit our parlay.
No, yeah.
This is our week.
You did make the joke that, hey, maybe we need to rebrand or figure something out, and we'll turn the corner. And that's exactly what happened. So good signs there. We told you to fade us, and if you faded us, wronged you again. But we got some wins on the board, so.
I don't know what to say to anybody anymore, whether they should follow or fade. Either way, we actually did well. So, that's good. So let's start with our highs for the week. I mentioned our records already, but what did you get right?
Yeah, riding high with Travis Etienne. I actually got him wrong in terms of his yards, but this is somebody with 3 straight games now where he's had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He's seeing a lot of volume on a team that's hot, a team that is now 5-2 in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've won 4 in a row after the rough 1-2 start. I'd say in fantasy in general, it's just a high if you have Travis Etienne. If you're trying to trade for him, sorry, the price just went up, but definitely just a high productivity guy who's getting a lot of usage on a team that game script-wise is going to run the ball in the last quarter and a half, 2 quarters. And then my anytime touchdown streak continued with Romeo Doubs. Charlie, I feel like I got away with one here. The Packers offense, I don't have to tell you, didn't look very good, but I followed the numbers. Romeo Doubs, top of the team going into that game in receiving touchdowns. He had 3, now he has 4, and second on the team in red zone targets. The rest of the Packers, we'll try to avoid that in our 26-minute show here, but Romeo Doubs kept it going for me.
I like that Romeo Doubs pick. We talked about that last week, and now this week, all week long so far, they've been talking about how they want to keep getting Romeo more involved. The coaches on the Packers can say what they want, and it's probably not going to be true. Mm-hmm. So I won't vent about the Packers. I did get the Eagles game right. I picked them to win. I thought that was a good spot for the Eagles, especially, part of it was that they were wearing the Kelly Green uniforms, which were awesome, and they did win in those. So I'll monitor that situation and keep that in mind when they're wearing those. I also really liked it because of the fans and the crowd in general. I liked it because of the Phillies maybe going to the World Series. I might have jinxed them there as they ended up getting eliminated.
It's collateral damage.
But that was a great Eagles win. Their defense played a lot better. I think that blueprint that we were talking about last week where it involves the D-line a lot, getting pressure on Tua, that really helps, and the Dolphins didn't look crisp on offense. So I like that spot, and that was a good win. I also, I held a bit of a tryout for the Giants and Ravens to get off the canceled list, and they both got off.
With flying colors,
we'll get to that later, but yeah, the Ravens looked phenomenal. That was just an emotional pick when I put them on the canceled list. That was an emotional decision after that Steelers game. And the Giants actually look fine. They don't look great on offense with Tyrod Taylor in there, but he's also not hurting them, which I'll take that over Daniel Jones at this point. So those were my 2 highs. My lows, I have no idea what to say about the Niners offense and Brandon Ayuk. We picked him in our parlay to score a touchdown. He didn't score a touchdown,
no sense.
But I don't understand what's going on there. I'm sure they'll figure it out. They looked great against the Cowboys in week 5 or week 4. I'm sure they'll right the ship, but I really have no idea. I have no read on them at all. I also got wrong that any Michael Mayer overs. I took his over 2.5 receptions, his yards. 2 weeks ago, he had a great game. That was with Jimmy G at quarterback. And then last week with Brian Hoyer, he didn't really do much. He had 4 targets, caught 2 passes. I think he needs Jimmy G, a guy that's going to check down to the tight end a lot in order for him to really succeed. And I think that he's going to be really good. I mean, he was, the high second-round pick out of Notre Dame. Many people thought he was going to maybe go in the first round. So I think he'll bounce back and be all right. And then this isn't something that I got wrong, but something I'm more or less confused about. The NFL had 6 teams on bye last week and then 0 teams on bye this week. And I know that you don't have an answer for that, but I don't understand that in the slightest bit.
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
You and I even talked before about the whole concept of let's just throw one universal bye week in the middle of the season. And ironically enough, as we are just about to hit the halfway point in the season, can't believe that's the truth already, no one gets a bye. So it's almost like Goodell laughing in everybody's face saying, yeah, actually no one's getting a break exactly halfway through. I don't know. I will say, last week was rough because there were so many people not playing and so many injuries. I mean, you were probably playing some very interesting people on your fantasy teams or even making some bets you probably shouldn't have on players that weren't really getting playing time before. I don't understand it either.
I played Kenny Pickett in one of my fantasy games. It was bad.
That's a down bad
yeah,
play.
It was bad. What were your lows?
Lows in general, we're going to start off with the topic that stole the headlines last Thursday night, Calvin Ridley's value or lack of value. His value's tanking. He's now the 3rd favorite target on this Jacksonville team, behind Christian Kirk, behind Evan Ingram. Now, Kirk, if we want to look at the context, he's on a 4-year, $72 million contract, which I think he's honestly, in all honesty, looking like he's kind of living up to it. I don't want to prematurely call this. He's a year and a half in, 1,000-yard year last year. And then you have Evan Ingram, also back for a second year along with Kirk. I think you have somebody as simple as this in Calvin Ridley who hasn't played football. He obviously had the preseason. I don't want to use that excuse too much anymore because we're 2 months into the season. We've got 2 guys who know this offense a little bit more, who are getting paid more. Evan Ingram and Calvin Ridley are making about the same when you look at base salary. But, yeah, that's just kind of the situation there. And then the other low, I went 6 and 7 on my picks for Sherry Sackett, our GM here. You did a little better. You went 8 and 5. But me and Charlie started helping her out with her family pool. Hopefully they're not watching or listening to this. But, yeah, she's getting a little assistance from these so-called experts sitting at this desk at the ripe age of 22. But, yeah, 6 and 7, not a great week. I'm probably treading a fine line with Sherry now. So hopefully we can recover this week.
The Calvin Ridley thing's really weird.
So odd.
Do you think he's taking his own unders? He's a betting man. He's a betting man.
Oh, no.
We'll see if there's an investigation coming
hopefully
out.
he doesn't use his team email account. Yeah.
I do think that Ridley probably draws the number 1 DB on the other team. So I think that that's probably what a lot of these problems with Ridley is, and that's opened up Christian Kirk across the middle of the field. So he's been fine. All right, let's move on to our lessons learned from the week. Like I'll mention in a little bit, I'm staying away from the Steelers. I picked them to lose in that game against the Rams. I'm not gonna do anything with the Steelers moving forward. I hate their offense. Their defense is really good, but it also looks shaky at times. I'm staying away. And then I'm gonna look more week to week. Less on the Niners look great, they're the best team in the league, I'm playing them this week kind of deal. I try not to do that in general, but I'm writing it down as a lesson just because we saw the Bills, Niners, Dolphins, and Lions all lose last week, and a lot of them were pretty heavy favorites, especially like the Bills, they looked horrible, and that's always just like a situational thing. That's not necessarily based on how they're playing going into a game. It's all about matchups, and like you always say, styles make fights.
Yep.
What were your lessons?
We're going to start with recency is supreme. That's my fancy way of saying buy Austin Eckler and Devontae Adams in fantasy right now. Austin Eckler coming off an injury, 2 subpar weeks, especially by his standards. Devontae Adams now 3 subpar weeks. Didn't even do that good against the Bears. He had like 12.7. Don't mark me on that. But obviously the turnover at the quarterback position right now with Jimmy G being out, that's contributing to that, but then we have the complaints from Adams, possible trade scenarios. Looks like he's going to hang tight for now, but who knows? Right after this thing is posted, he could go somewhere. So, and also look for rainbows after rain. With that, I'm just talking about the Justin Jefferson situation, the Kyron Williams situation. Go get Jordan Addison, right? Believe in him. Obviously, to get him, you would have had to go and trade somebody like Darrell Henderson. That's when you go after and get him. Maybe even Royce Freeman. He was actually the more efficient back, but he didn't get as much usage as Henderson. If a star goes down and you have them, I know we're going to want to sulk in it for a little bit, but go get their backup. Create that handcuff situation as a security blanket because, I mean, somebody's got to get these touches, and we're kind of seeing that once Jordan Addison broke out against San Francisco.
I'm a big fan of doing that, especially with teams like the Panthers where they have a great run game. So if you have Chuba Hubbard or Miles Sanders, I have both in some leagues. I like that handcuff like you're saying.
Yep.
Let's move on to the canceled
Let's
list.
just move on.
The canceled list.
Oh.
So I mentioned it earlier. The Giants and Ravens had a bit of a tryout. because I was emotional and I canceled them prematurely. The Giants probably more worthy of it after that Seahawks loss that they actually looked miserable in. But they made it back. I might keep them canceled with Daniel Jones at quarterback.
That's fair.
With Tyrod Taylor, I mean, they scored 14 points last week, but he's also not a negative on that team.
Game manager. I mean, it's an overused term, but that is what he's done for them. He's not going to go out there and lose you the game.
Absolutely. And then with the Ravens, they blew out the Lions last week. They looked really good. I think the Ravens are a Super Bowl contender as of right now at the minimum. They look great. I'm going to keep playing them. But what I am going to do, and the reason I put the Ravens on the canceled list from the beginning, was because of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, I have no idea what's going to happen in their games. I thought they were going to lose to the Rams. I thought that was a classic. Mike Tomlin off a bye, and everybody was going to play it, and everybody was going to lose. No. The Steelers are going to keep being fine. I'm going to cancel them just as a way for me to not bet on their games in general. Not betting on them, not betting against them, just staying away. I don't want anything to do with it. It could either be a rock fight, really gross game, or it's going to be sort of like last week where I'm done with the Steelers. I'm done with them. You canceling anybody?
I should probably take your advice. I'm not canceling the Steelers, so that's a little teaser for the second half of the show. I'm canceling Tutu Atwell, tempting with the touchdown this past week, but this is someone who, since Cooper Kupp came back, is averaging less than 3 targets a game. He's had 8 in 3 games. A lot of people are wondering, Puka Nacua, he's going to see a decrease in usage, right? Wrong. 30 targets in the last 3 games. Actually got more usage than Kupp this last game. Do not be tempted by last week. I know he had a touchdown on a 31-yarder, so technically in fantasy PPR, he had 10.1 points. He had 1 reception for 1 target and 1 touchdown. I would be a huge hypocrite if I harped on Gabe Davis for inconsistency when he's actually been pretty good the last month and a half. Now that's Tutu Atwell. Not a lot of volume to deal with at all. I would deal him while you can. He might even be a cut at this point because he's somebody I think really has been phased out of this offense.
We're going to go to break, and on the other side, we have some NBA futures and awards, and our picks for Week 8 of the NFL on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. Welcome back to Primetime Picks on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. For the second half of the show, we've got some NBA futures. Not my strong suit, I'll say that. I'm fine on the futures. NBA regular season, I might as well throw on the canceled list because I can't do it.
The entire thing.
I can't do it. No, I'm so bad. It's so hard with all the variants of who's going to play, who's on load management, who's going to come out and actually try in the game. I feel like all the time you'll turn on an NBA game and it looks like one team's trying a lot harder than the other. Let's dive right into our futures. We've got 2 win totals and 2 awards each. Corey, let's start with your win totals.
All right, starting with the Heat, over 45.5 wins. They hit 44 on the nose last year, obviously got hot at the end. We were introduced, again, to playoff Jimmy Butler. The talent around him should develop a little bit more. We need guys like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson to take another step forward. Duncan Robinson had a down year. He's getting paid $18 million a year. We need that sharpshooter to do his job a little more effectively. Look, I want to say losing someone like Gabe Vincent will hurt. You know, he went on that tear in the playoffs. But I'm a firm believer that his performance, not to take any credit away from him, is just a testament to the talent development that Miami has. They operated with 6 undrafted players, all of which were getting minutes, by the way, and they went to the NBA Finals last year. What happened beyond that, we all know. It was a mess. But for them to get that far with the lack of draft capital that they had on their active roster, that guys were going out there and dropping 15, 20, doing more than just what a role player would do, and honestly stepping up, I think if we can get some more of that, and I mean, you've got the leader of all leaders in Jimmy Butler. He does not shy away from leading a team. He's going to change his hair to get your attention, right? And we've got all that going on. So I'm going to take Heat over 45.5 there. And then Lakers under 46.5, completely dependent on Anthony Davis. Will he be healthy? Will he play well? He was healthy the other day, but he disappeared in the second half. So we have that. If LeBron has to end up playing north of 35 minutes a game again, that's a bad sign. You could probably check the standings, and it probably means the Lakers are fighting for a play-in spot. That's around where I see them this year. If you're in that range, I don't see you getting 46 wins, especially in the West. So, yep, under on the Lakers.
I like those. I think the Heat is going to be a little bit funky this year, especially with, well, they could go and get a superstar. I'm not sure if they will. They like their Heat culture idea and all that, but I did take the Heat to win the championship in like June after the finals. I saw the rumor about Dame Lillard going there, the first one, not before he demanded this is the only team I go to and all that. Now he's a Buck, so we're all good.
So throw all that out the window.
We're all good. I do like the Heat, and I like the Lakers. So I think the Lakers will go over that one. I think the Heat, they'll probably be right around there. So I think that you'll be in safe hands.
Yep.
For my first total, I've got the Hawks over 42.5 wins.
I like
This one, I don't know how much I like it.
No? Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't really believe in the Hawks as in a general sense, but I think that this total is a little low for Quinn Snyder being the head coach.
Mm.
Quinn Snyder came from the Jazz. He had that weird buyout at the end of I think that was last season.
Yeah.
Then he ended up with the Hawks last year, and they played really well under Quinn Snyder. He's a regular season coach. He hasn't had much playoff success, but he's done really well in the playoffs. Yeah, he did have Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert in those Jazz teams. But I still think that when he's got Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, I think that they're going to be just fine. So that's more or less a Quinn Snyder coaching bet. Then I've got the Bulls under 37.5. They are going to self-implode. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm sorry. They're your team, I know.
Agree. Wholeheartedly, I agree.
They had one game last night, and they already had a players-only meeting.
Mm-hmm.
This team is going to not look even remotely close to what it looks like now by the end of the season. I think they're going to probably trade Zach LaVine, get assets for Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. They just gave Vucevic that extension, which was really weird to me.
Got a lot of money.
I don't really understand what they're trying to do there. They're in a really weird situation, and I don't think that they're going to really get close to 500 this year. I think this is going to be the down year before they rebuild. For awards, we both got, or I've got a Rookie of the Year bet. I took Scoot.
All right.
Scoot Henderson, plus 400. I took that probably around June-ish when Wemby came out in the preseason or Summer League. It was Summer League. And he didn't look great in that first game or two. So I figured I'd put one on Scoot Henderson, who's going to be in that primary position. I think that the Spurs might try and not load manage Wemby, but they're going to probably be a little more cautious to their approach with him because they don't want to see him get hurt. We just saw Chet Holmgren miss all of last season because he was hurt with that Liz Frank injury in his foot. I think they're going to be a little careful with Wemby. If Wemby plays most of the season, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. That's pretty easy, but I wanted to get some value with Scoot Henderson, who's going to be that number one scoring option for them, except he did not look great last night.
Yeah.
That's an issue.
Long season.
Long season. It's one game. I think he'll be fine, but he shot 5 of 11 last night with only 3 rebounds and 4 assists to go along with it. Not worried. Not pressing the panic button after one game. My other award is Cade Cunningham to be the most improved player. That's plus 1,500, so it's pretty much a long shot bet. He missed most of last season with an injury. That is an issue or something that I'll worry about for this year. Him playing. I need him to play to win the award. That makes sense. But I think that with the Pistons improving and he's going to continue in his role as their primary guy, I think he's got a great chance to take that second-year jump that a lot of players play or make. With him missing his second year and this being his third actual year, I think this is where he makes that jump as the most improved player. What do you got for your awards?
You're going to hate me. I got a pair of Celtics. I have a pair of Celtics. We're going to start with Jason Tatum, MVP, pulling the voter fatigue card here. I think Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid are all going to be up there. You've got the addition of Drew Holiday getting into their conference finals or maybe even a finals appearance from the Celtics. I think is kind of likely. I know I'm pushing it there, but if that happens, I think it's very likely that the man at the center of attention in Boston gets his flowers. We've got Jason Tatum plus 800, fourth most likely right now. He's always been up there. It's kind of like the Embiid argument I'm going to make. He's been up there, and I think they just kind of gave it to him at some point, right? I mean, the voters just kind of said, this guy's been contending for a while. We got to lean this way. And then Defensive Player of the Year, I think Boston gets another guard, and it's going to be Drew Holiday this time, plus 2,500. So I'm flopping yesterday, so I don't know how I feel about it anymore. Marcus Smart got the first DPOY award by a guard in a while. I think Drew gives the same production in the same place and gets the same result. Now, that one's a stretch. I more so went after it because I saw 2,500. Plus 2,500, pretty appealing for somebody of Drew's caliber.
That's very fair. I had a Tatum MVP future last year, and it looked all right for a while. The odds got better than what I had placed, and then as we got close to the end of the season, it really wasn't close with Embiid and Jokic really stealing the show there. Let's move to our Week 8 NFL picks. We've got a lot of Cowboys-Rams going on here.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of that. I'm kind of nervous about that because the Rams are another team that I don't really have much of a read on. But let's dive right in. My first one, I've got Giants +3. The Giants are home to the Jets. The Jets are 3-point favorites with an over-under of 36.5. So a really, 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 really low total, especially for, I mean, all these games in the NFL have been going under, but this is low.
This is insane.
This is close to Minnesota, Iowa low.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
This is a trust pick from the Giants. I don't know that it really matters who's home and away at MetLife Stadium when they're playing each other. They both play there. So I think it's probably going to be a pretty 50-50 split on them. Since it's a low total, I think it's going to be a close game. And the Giants just earned my trust back. They had another close, low-scoring game last week against the Commanders, and when they won 14-7. I don't trust Zach Wilson. I don't know why they're favorites, and I know I just kind of mentioned it's not really a road game, but it's still technically a road spot. So I don't know why the Jets are that high of favorites. That's probably a Jets defense play, which is the best unit on the field in this game. So I understand that one. The Giants have won outright 5 of the last 7 games against the Jets. Now, the Jets have been a lot worse in those games than they are now, but I still like that stat. And I think that I need Tyrod Taylor to start this game in order to have the Giants +3 as my pick. Not saying that when Daniel Jones, if he gets activated, moves the line at all. I don't think he really does, but the way that Tyrod's been playing, like we mentioned earlier, he's a game manager. I think that that's the right play. My other one is Dolphins -9. The Dolphins are home to the Patriots on Sunday. Their over-under for that game is 46.5. Dolphins are the 9-point favorites. In their last 10 games, they're 8-2 against the spread. They're coming off a loss. I think that they're going to try and really prove something, especially after the Patriots just beat the Bills. They're going to try and make some kind of statement there. The Pats in their last 11 games are 2-9 against the spread. They've lost 6 straight to Miami. And the Dolphins overall are 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 games against the NFC or AFC. And at home, the Dolphins kill the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
They have been great. They're 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 in Miami, and they're 15-2 straight up in their last 17 games in Miami. A lot of stats that I just said, but all of them point to Miami here. I think that Miami wins this game by 2 scores. I think they can win this game by 10, 14, 17 points. So I'm feeling the Dolphins. I wanted to take them in the first half overall, but they haven't been great in the first half. They've actually done a lot of their scoring in the second half. For your first one, we mentioned it earlier, you've got the Rams +6.5 at the Cowboys with an over-under of 45.5.
Yeah, so the Rams have not been great against the Cowboys on the road. I saw a lot. So, I mean, if you want to go ahead and fade me on this one, feel free. But I will say Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are firing on all cylinders. This looks like one of the meaner 1-2 punches in the league right now. Trayvon Diggs obviously out for the season. We've got an instance of the Rams just happening to cover the spread a few weeks ago, and they kicked a field goal against San Francisco to lose by 7. So I think I like that.
That was such a bad beat.
I'm going to leave it at that.
And then your second one, you've got the Bears Chargers over 46.5. The Bears are, what are we looking at here? The Bears are 8.5-point underdogs on the road in LA.
I expect a shootout. The Bears put up 30 on a Las Vegas team that isn't good either, and that was without Tyson Bagent moving the ball down the field much. Looks like he'll get his second straight start. The Los Angeles Chargers are the perfect team to experiment and move the ball down the field on. They give up 310 passing yards per game. That's 40 more than anybody else in the league, so wide margin there. The Bears allow 260 passing yards per game. Even without Mike Williams, I honestly think if there's one thing about this Chargers team, they know how to move the ball down the field. Are they going to win a lot of games? That's a different conversation, but they've got enough weapons to do some damage. This could be like a 30-20 ball game.
Great. And our touchdown picks, we both got Cowboys. I took CeeDee Lamb at +105. I think off a bye, they're going to try and get him the ball, especially after he's voiced his frustrations. He hasn't caught a touchdown since week 4. Where I am worried is that the Rams have allowed tied for the fewest passing touchdowns on the season with only 4. Mm-hmm. So I am worried that, well, your pick, Tony Pollard to score a touchdown, is going to get it through the ground and not through the air.
Yeah, and so I have Tony Pollard anytime touchdown, second in the NFL with 10 rushes inside of the 5-yard line. So there's no Ezekiel Elliott poaching the touchdowns anymore. Tony Pollard is the big dog in the backfield now. The Rams have allowed 1.3 rushing touchdowns per game on the ground. Obviously, that's pretty high. So 4th highest in the NFL. I just see a lot of opportunity for a team that I still think is going to win outright in the Cowboys.
Let's go to our parlay. For my parlay pick, I've got the Commanders +7. They're hosting the Eagles. I think that the Commanders, like I was talking about earlier, when you look week to week, the Commanders they faced off against the Eagles pretty well in that overtime loss. I just think that 7's too many. I think the Eagles just won that game, and now everybody's going to be like, oh, the Eagles, best team in the league, play them. And this is where I'm talking about where you go the other way. You've got the Jacks money line. You've got Jacksonville, the Jags.
I did not learn my lesson, Charlie. I'm going to bet against the Pittsburgh Steelers, what feels like the billionth time this year. Allowing 17.8 points per game are the Jags during their 4-game win streak that I think is going to go to 5, obviously. Steelers are scoring just over 17 points per game. I think it could be a low-scoring slugfest, but the Jags are too deep on offense. I think they overwhelm a Pittsburgh secondary that's had more holes in it this year than it has in years past. So I'm going to go Jags money line.
For our group pick, we've got 3 on there. Panthers +3, Matthew Stafford over 1.5 passing touchdowns against the Cowboys, and the Chiefs Broncos under 46.5. Which of those do you like best?
I think I'm going to go with that final one. Threw that one on at the end. 20 degrees, snowing. I think we see a lot of Isaiah Pacheco. We see some Julian McLaughlin. I think that it's going to be an ugly ball game like the first one, which wasn't too long ago, by the way. So Broncos fans are getting a lot of Kansas City, which I'm sure they love. So I'm going to go under. I think this could be an ugly one. Still got the Chiefs winning it.
All right, great. And that's a wrap on Primetime Picks on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam. Thanks as always for joining us. You can find these episodes on the Daily Dodge TV YouTube page. And good luck this weekend in Week 8 of the NFL on Daily Dodge TV and 1430 ESPN Beaver Dam.